I always like to take a minute and just show you that I appreciate you guys. I really appreciate those that reach out that need help. Maybe it's just a referral for a good contractor, or of course you're thinking of buying or selling or investing in real estate, or you've got a property you'd like for us to manage, or you just need some advice. We're here to help in any way we can. Feel free to reach out to me if you'd like. My number, which you can reach me on privately, is 843-800-0065. That's 843-800-0065. Or check out our website, listingsincharleston.com. So if you're just joining us, I just read off basically 1 year price projections for every major zip code in the Charleston metro tri-county area. So if you're just joining us and you want to know what's happening or going to happen in your area, and again, this is just one data set. It's not set in stone, and it's just a projection. Projections change, but we've got a pretty significant number of zip codes that are showing that prices are likely to decline in the next 12 months. And most of it's centered around Dorchester County and parts of Berkeley County. But you're looking at like Somerville down 5-ish%. You're looking at North Charleston anywhere from 5 to 8%. And then a few other kind of surprising ones sprinkled in. So what do we do with this information? That's I think the question, and maybe one of the reasons why you guys listen to this program is to kind of understand the thought process that maybe you should be having with this information right now. So let's think about it first from a seller's perspective. If I own a home right now and I'm considering selling it, and I'm kind of in that situation where, I don't have to sell. I'm just trying to figure out what my next step is. There's no pressure to the sale. It's purely opportunistic, right? Is now the time that I consider selling the property, or is there going to be an environment in the short term that will actually be more advantageous for you to sell your home in? And so my first opinion, just generally speaking, and again, you have to understand that different markets and different segments of our market are behaving differently because of the buyers and where they come from and the trends within those specific sections of our market. Some are a lot hotter than others. But if I'm an owner of a property right now, the first thing I'm doing is I'm understanding my home equity, like my position in my house. How much cash do I have in my house? That's something that I think a lot of people can get somewhat close on if they go online or if they use one of these, third-party, calculators essentially to determine what your home is worth, but they're never accurate. And if they are accurate, it's because of luck. But we've talked about this before. Online systems and tools like a Zestimate do not factor in your condition. They don't factor in your upgrades or lack thereof. It doesn't factor in concessions like paying for closing costs or interest rate buy downs or repairs or things like that. So you're not getting the full picture when you're using these online estimators. So I would, if I'm an owner considering selling, I first would want to understand what my home could realistically sell for, and when it sells after expenses, how much money do I have left? And then, it's when we're looking at timing a market, we have to look at a few things. We have to look first at what I call the immediate comp environment. Basically, what has happened over the course of the past 6 months? Do you have some good sales in your neighborhood of similar properties that justify the price that you're hoping to get? Or have you had some distressed sales in your neighborhood recently? And you know the backstory and the reason why it's sold for less. And if you have a few of those happen in a short time frame, then that kind of becomes the comp environment, the comparable properties that people are going to use to determine value. So the first thing I'm looking at is what's happened over the course of the past 6 months, right? Do we have any outliers there? We just want to understand, generally speaking, what people have been willing to pay for similar properties recently. Secondly, we're going to look at the active competition, not just in our neighborhood, but if I'm a buyer looking to spend X amount of money, what else am I going to be looking at, right? And that, I think, is something that most agents miss, is they only look at the neighborhood. You've got to understand that buyer and their perspective and understand what they're looking for. That's why a good real estate agent is going to ask and have a conversation with the agent showing the property. This is a bit of a side thing here, but as a real estate agent, all real estate agents, we use a third-party company to schedule showings. It's a company called Showing Time. So if I want to go and I want to show a buyer properties on a weekend, I just go online, I put in the addresses and the dates and the times that I want to see those properties, and then that company will reach out to the seller and they'll coordinate everything, and then they'll just give me instructions on how to get inside the house and if there's any alarms or cats or whatever. So it's nice in that we have this third-party process that's a time saver, but the issue that it creates is that the agent representing the homeowner selling the house and the agent representing the buyer are no longer talking to one another before that showing occurs. Very, very rarely am I getting calls from agents before they go and look at my listing. So it creates an opportunity, right? It creates an opportunity for me to learn more about that buyer and their situation. It provides my client with the ability to use that information to their advantage, which is why, and I've said this multiple times on this program, you have to watch what you say to people. Like if you're calling, you see a house on Zillow that you want to go and take a look at with some random agent, and they start asking you a bunch of questions and so on and so forth. I mean, if they don't represent you, they represent the seller. So everything you've just said is now going straight to the seller's ear and will be used against you in negotiations. That's how it works. So be careful what you say. But anyways, getting back to this idea here that if I'm an owner right now, I first want to determine what the house is worth. And if I'm looking at timing the market, I need to understand what's sold recently, and then I need to understand my competition, right? What's available for sale, not just in my neighborhood, but in this price range and general location, right? What are these buyers looking at and comparing my home to? And then with the ones that have sold, what was it that got them across the finish line? Was it negotiations on the price? Was it concessions? Was it that the home was priced well enough when it was listed that the buyers didn't question it? They just wanted to buy it, right? A third of the properties that sell that don't need price reductions get asking price or higher. So we still have these like awesome moments in our market where a seller can really win big when they sell their house, and then they can go and they get a deal on a house that they buy. That's the excitement of the market right now, but a lot of people aren't seeing it that way. They're fearful, and so they bury their heads in the sand, and they just wait. They wait for a better time, whatever that is. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people can't really articulate what a better time is. They just want change. So if I'm an owner of a property right now, I would say that right now probably represents one of, if not the best time to sell a property, right? Where we still have market dynamics that support the seller side of the equation, right? We still, even with everything that's been happening, prices are still up a little bit in Charleston overall. It's because inventory is just not growing quickly enough. We're absorbing all of the new stuff we put on the market. So we're not really changing fundamentally, right? We're still kind of stuck in this quasi-seller's market with buyers that are behaving like it's a buyer's market, and both sides are being stubborn. And it's a good deal when neither side is very happy with the outcome, right? That's one of the telltale signs of a good deal. But again, if I'm a seller right now, I think realistically, right now probably represents a really good time to consider selling your house. You still have limited inventory. Properties aren't staying on the market too terribly long. If they're priced well, they're marketed well, they're in good condition, they're going to sell. I mean, that's the market that we're still in for a seller. But when you go and you buy a house, you've got all the folks that are listed that are either unmotivated or they're getting bad or no advice from their agent, or maybe they know exactly what they're doing and they know their home's overpriced, and they're just hoping somebody will make them an offer and negotiate. But I think buyers in this market have real opportunity to get good deals on things, not just in the form of knocking them down on the purchase price, but we're seeing a lot of that, especially in the higher end. But we're seeing a lot of concessions on the sale, right? Getting the seller to lower your interest rate, either temporarily or permanently, right? Or paying for your closing costs or paying for upgrades. The point is, buyers are negotiating and they're getting a lot of what they're asking for, and they're getting it more and more often as properties continue to sell in Charleston. And so that is the narrative now, is that to be in this market means being okay with negotiating, because that's what people want. So if we can play the game and we understand the rules of the game, it gives us, right, a leg up on the competition. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to finish up the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show right here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. But if you want to reach out to me, my cell phone number, 843-800-0065, 843-800-0065, or check us out online, listingsincharleston.com.